Okay. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be located. Thank you for joining us for this next level webinar titled What's New with VMware Horizon 7. This webinar will be presented by one of our leading instructors, Shawn Bolan. My name is Brian Duncan. I am here as the MC of this event. So if you have any questions or any concerns about the webinar as we go, please feel free to put those in the chat box or the question box, and I will relay those to Shawn or answer them myself if I'm capable of doing so. This webinar, as all of our next level webinars, is presented by New Horizons Computer Learning Center with New Horizons. Shawn, if you could hit next for me. So New Horizons is a proven worldwide training provider with flexible learning solutions covering a broad spectrum of topics taught by industry-leading instructors. Let's hear about our large international network as well as our flexible integrated learning methods. With all that being said, what you're really here for is to hear Shawn talk a little bit more about Horizon 7 and what's new. So I will go ahead and pass it over to Shawn.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Brian. And as Brian mentioned, good morning/afternoon for wherever you happen to be at. I am coming to you from Omaha, Nebraska, the Omaha New Horizons branch today, smack dab in the middle of the country. First of all, why the heck are you here? And that is to learn about VMware's Horizon 7 platform. So we are targeting this presentation at a couple of different audiences. If you're a current Horizon user, might be on Horizon 5, Horizon 6, and you've heard all the cool stuff about Horizon 7, you want to learn a little bit more? Absolutely. You may not be running a Horizon environment yet. You may not be using virtual desktops or VDI, but you're looking at it and want to learn about what VMware has in their newest platform here with Horizon 7. That's essentially who I'm going to be talking to. Very brief about myself. I am an instructor with New Horizons out of Omaha, Nebraska. I've been with New Horizons almost 10 years. Been a technical trainer for longer than that. It says 16 plus years there. It's actually longer than that, but I'm going to stop counting because it makes me sound old. I divide my life up kind of 50-50 between VMware technologies as well as Microsoft technologies. On the VMware side of the house, I work with all the major pillars of technology from VMware, the data center or vSphere platform, the mobility or desktop platform, which is this Horizon View, NSX, and then a little bit with the cloud platforms. So today, what I'm going to focus on, we're going to start off with just a very brief overview of what the heck is VMware Horizon, what's it all about, kind of give you that 5,000-foot overview. If you're a Horizon customer, you already know that, so I won't belabor that stuff. But then I'm going to drill into a handful of the new features with Horizon 7, the things that are getting noticed, making the news, things like that, that are going to catch your attention. If you're a current Horizon customer, all of the standard things that you use Horizon and Horizon View for today, creating manual pools, creating automated pools from templates, creating link clone pools, maybe RDSH desktops or RDSH streaming applications, all of those things you're using Horizon for today from version 5 or maybe version 6, keep those forefront in your mind because they still apply. What I'm going to be talking about are the things that VMware has specifically changed or added to the platform. And it's important to note that with Horizon 7, we're really seeing steps forward here. We're not really seeing steps backwards. So in other words, you're not going to lose anything if you're going from 6 to 7, and we're just adding functionality. As Brian mentioned, you've got the chat or the question window there. If you got some questions along the way, you can toss those in. We have architected some time at the end, so we'll take Q&As then, but you can toss the questions in at any time. All right, so with that, let's get busy. Let's learn about Horizon. So what the heck is VMware Horizon? Well, it's not one product. Horizon is a brand name from VMware. And the reality of it is that Horizon, the Horizon suite or Horizon family, whatever you want to call it, is truly a suite of products. And what those products are focused towards is essentially a virtual desktop environment, a mobility type environment. I've got users who are inside my environment, outside my environment, etc. I need to get them virtual desktops. I'm going to go start using thin clients or zero clients. How can I get those users access to those virtual machines? How can I get users access to the applications and data that they need? essentially what we're striving for here is a truly transparent mobile experience. Any application to any device at any location, that's what we want to make available. And the Horizon Suite or Horizon family of products is really just that. It's a collection of products that allow me to provide that virtualized environment for my users. Saying that Horizon is a suite of products, okay, what are those products in that suite? View or Horizon View is the classic product. It's been around forever. That is the technology or the product we're going to use to actually build the virtual desktops. The VMs actually run on a vSphere environment, so when you're running View, you're also running vSphere. vSphere is the actual virtualization engine on the back end, but View is how we create and manage the virtual machines for the users. We've got some different ways to get users access to applications, and we'll talk about a few of those today. App volumes, thin app, workspace one. We've got some new storage technologies, virtual SAN. Well, that's not actually part of Horizon. You get a virtual SAN license with Advanced or Enterprise Edition. We've got a lot of different ways to manage users and their data and their profiles. We'll talk about User Environment Manager coming up. And then down at the bottom, you see Instant Clones and Blast Extreme. Those are two of the key things we're going to be talking about in just a moment. So I put this list up here not to give you a confusing list of products to say, oh my gosh, it's all these different things, but to emphasize the fact that Horizon truly is a suite of products. It is not one single product. Which of the products you end up running is going to be a factor of, well, what are you trying to do? And then it's also going to be a factor of, okay, well, which components have you licensed, which components have you subscribed to, if you will. Okay? So we got a whole bunch of different things under the hoods cooking here. To kind of put that in a graphical format for you, because administrators and humans in general are graphical. I can give you a list of things, but if I show you a picture, so what we're just displaying here is what would be a relatively typical environment for Horizon View. I've got vSphere running here in the middle, and that's the engine, if you will, that's powering all of my virtual machines. I've got the components of Horizon View, like a connection server and a security server. That's what my users are going to connect to get into their virtual machines. I've got vCenter running out here, which is, of course, managing the vSphere environment. I've got the Horizon clients, whether my user is on a Windows machine or they're on a Mac or they're on a thin client or zero client or they're on a phone. They're going to be connecting through the connection server to get to their VMs. I can do streamed applications from remote desktop session hosts. So simply just put a picture together for you here, kind of showing you, hey, yeah, there are different components to this Horizon platform. Obviously, it's an integrated suite. We've got all these components talking to each other. Again, the end result is giving you, the customer, you, the administrator, the ability to deliver any application, any desktop experience to any user, any location, any device. That's what this is all about. And we use that suite of products to do that. So now let's talk about why you really came, and that is Horizon 7. First of all, let's talk about the least favorite topic for every administrator out there, and that is licensing. Now, if you're a current Horizon customer, I'll assume you're running Horizon 6. Maybe you're running 5. I don't know. So if you're a current Horizon customer, you will be familiar with the fact that you license Horizon in different editions from VMware. We have a standard, an advanced, and an enterprise edition. And just like in version 6, with the same levels of licensing, what the licensing level with Horizon defines is which of those components are you, the customer, going to get access to. So for instance, we listed out like User Environment Manager to do user profile management, or app volumes, or virtual SAN, or RDSH, streaming applications. Whether or not you get those products and can use those products all depends upon the licensing level. Now, these licensing levels do correspond to what we had in previous versions. As I mentioned, there's obviously some new components to this, and for the new components that I'm going to go through, I'll try to make sure I mention if they have a specific license requirement behind those. So let's talk about the new cool stuff. Probably the component, feature, whatever the heck you want to call it, that's getting the most attention is a technology called instant clone technology. That's what VMware's calling this. Now, some of you may have heard of this technology a few years ago. When it was in development, VMware called this Project Fargo. All their applications and tools, when they go through development, have code names. Initially revealed at VMworld in 2014. In fact, related story for you, I remember sitting on Tuesday morning, the second morning keynote, listening to the VMware Chief Technology Officer giving his update, and of course myself and half the people in the audience were half asleep because it's early in the morning, etc. And anyway, the CTO was going through and doing his thing, and he kind of said, oh yeah, by the way, we're working on this thing, it's called Project Fargo, we're going to use it in our virtual desktops, and we can create a new VM in less than 1 second. And I don't know about anybody else, but I immediately woke up, and the audience is like, excuse me, did you just say you can create a VM in less than a second? Because now I'm interested. Okay. Well, what instant clone technology is a new way to create a virtual machine pool. Now, we have pools in Horizon View today in previous versions. I can do manual pools, automated pools from templates, I can build linked clones. With each one of those traditional ways of building a pool, one of the downsides is that there's a fairly resource-intensive way that Horizon and vCenter have to go through to actually physically build the machines. If it's resource-intensive, it takes time. Now, some of the kinds of pools today, like linked clones, we say, oh, well, they build faster. But they still take time. Okay? This idea of an instant clone, it takes linked clone technology that you might be familiar with, and it literally takes it to the next level. So when we use this technology called instant clones, what's going to happen is, oops, sorry about that, let me change that out. What's going to happen is that we're going to create a parent machine. We'll call it the parent machine, the gold machine, whatever you want to call it. And that's the machine that our pool is going to be built from. It has all the applications and patches on it and things like that. And unlike a linked clone scenario, where I have what we call a replica, but it's powered off, in an instant clone technology or an instant clone pool, that parent machine or that gold machine is powered on, which means not only does it have disk data that's going to be shared with all the clones in the pool, but it's also got memory data. So literally all of the clones that we build inside of this linked clone pool are going to look to that parent machine and say, okay, you're giving me my C drive, which is read-only, and you're giving me my initial memory state as a running VM, which is a read-only shared memory. That child machine is created, and literally just got to create the virtual hardware shell around that. Spin up a new Delta disk, which is empty, in a unique memory space, which is empty, and literally that child VM is spawned or created off of that parent nearly instantaneously. I mean, they called it instant clone for a reason, because they build incredibly quickly. Now, those of you who run Horizon View today, thinking, oh yeah, it kind of sounds like linked clones, and it does. It takes some of the characteristics of linked clones that worked really well, and it takes them to the next level or the next step. Now, VMware has created a new term for this process of creating these linked clones, okay, and it's called a VM fork technology. Okay. We called the other one link clone technology, so we had to come up with a catchy name for this, called VM fork technology. Now, remember, it's all about getting the user what they need. Okay, so I'm presenting the user a Windows operating system. It's got applications in it, okay, things like that. The thing that we're changing here is we are changing the way that the virtual machines are created. And because of the technology behind this, we can create the virtual machines incredibly rapidly. I mean, I could be spinning up, okay, a whole pool of these in a very, very small number of minutes, okay, as opposed to even with a linked clone pool, you know, building out a fairly large linked clone pool. I mean, it might take 20, 30, 40 minutes to spin up a full linked clone pool. This is changing the game as far as virtual machine creation. We still have to create the initial VM for my user, and make sure it has everything in it needs, etc. But it's a totally different way to do it. Now, this is the first generation of this technology. So with any first generation technology, there is a few, we'll call them limitations. I wouldn't call them drawbacks. This is only available for a floating assignment pool at this time. Floating assignment pool means when somebody logs in, I give them a VM out of the pool, not the same one every time. Dedicated assignment means they get the same one back. This only works for floating assignment pools. VMware is committed to doing dedicated in the future, but not yet. Not sure when it's going to come about, but not currently. The other thing that is unique about these is that when a user logs off of the operating system, logs off of their VM, it's completely destroyed every single time. So the whole idea of updating and things like that, all we have to do is update the parent, because every time somebody logs in, we're building a new VM for them. By the way, we call updating, we call it a push technology now. Okay, in link clones, we call it a recompose. So it becomes super easy for me to do that. Currently today, we can only do this if the user's VM is built on Windows 7 or Windows 10. For those of you wondering why VMware didn't build this technology to accommodate Windows 8 or 8.1, the answer from VMware is no one asked for it. They kind of surveyed their user base out there, and everybody's either running Windows 7 or running Windows 10 or going from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Nobody wanted Windows 8 or 8.1. So if they get requests, they'll buy that, or they'll build that. There is a new customization tool, just so you know. The machines do get customized and added into Active Directory. The brand new tool for that is called Clone Prep. That does that. So again, we join all the machines to Active Directory, etc. And this is only available if you're running vSphere 6 Update 1 behind the scenes, and you have to use Virtual Machine Hardware 11 when you build the VMs. So we've added a new kind of pool in Horizon 7. And the unique thing is I can now create virtual machines incredibly rapidly inside the pool. It's the thing that's getting the most attention in Horizon 7, but not the only cool technology. Let me talk about a couple of other ones here. Oh, and by the way, this is just a screenshot showing you that when you create these pools, there is this new kind of pool out there called an instant clone pool. So creating it's pretty darn easy. It's right in the add a pool wizard out there as we've had before. Okay. A few other things that have come about with Horizon 7. I put the list here of different options we have for Horizon clients. First of all, in Horizon 7, the version of the client is version 4.0 of the client. I know it's confusing when I do different version numbers. VMware has been dedicated to providing Horizon options for any kind of a device that the user wants to connect from. And you're seeing them continue to push that with Server 2012, Windows 10, newer versions of Macintosh operating systems, Linux clients, iOS clients, Android clients, Chrome, and HTML Access, which is just a browser. So this really isn't new per se, but again, VMware continuing to just give us clients for every kind of conceivable platform. VMware's committed to basically saying we don't want the device to be the impediment here. So this will continue with that development. Now, a few new things you can do with the various Horizon clients. So these are new options in the clients. One of them, and this is a Windows-based option, but it also works on the Mac platform, and that is URL content redirection. And this is kind of a cool technology. So let me give you a use case here. Your user has a VM. So on the right-hand side where it says VDI desktop, that's the user's virtual machine over here. And we may have some scenarios where, I'm in a secure environment. And when my user is on their virtual machine, their corporate virtual machine, I want to restrict browsing on that machine. Now, you might be thinking, well, I can restrict browsing in a lot of ways. I can do it with firewalls and proxy servers. Sure you can. We're going to give you another way to do it here. So let's say when my user's inside of their corporate virtual desktop, I want them to be able to go to the corporate intranet and maybe one or two other sites like VMware.com. Now, I'm going to let my user browse to other websites, and you see Yahoo as an example here on the screen. However, when my user is going to browse to Yahoo or other public websites, they can't do that from within the corporate virtual machine. They can do that on their own laptop that they're sitting at. I could care less at that point in time. Okay, browse wherever you want to on your local machine, but inside the VM, I'm going to restrict where you can go. Now, we can approach that in lots of different ways. This is a feature that's built right into the client now. So with this URL content redirection, what we're doing is we are including some intelligence now in the agent that's inside the VM and the Horizon client. And we literally can go out and create this list of acceptable URLs, and we can say, okay, if the user's opening HTTP intranet or www.vmware.com, those can be browsed from within the corporate VM, no problem. But if the user is going to Yahoo or pick your other favorite public website, we want that to immediately and automatically redirect and open up in the client browser on their device, like their laptop. So my user doesn't have to remember, oh, I've got to go to my laptop to browse to this website, because it's going to be built into the client. It's going to be built into the agent. They open up a URL, and it will redirect into the appropriate browser, whether it's on their local machine or whether it's in the corporate desktop. Again, my user doesn't have to remember what to do because it will do it for them automatically. Client drive redirection. This is not actually a new feature, but we can do more with it than we could before. Client drive redirection is the ability for users to be able to take files and folders that are on their local device and make those accessible inside of the virtual machine, inside of their corporate VM. This is something we've had before. We just get more control over it than we have had before. What we want to make accessible inside the VM, what we don't, whether it's USB drives, local files, local folders, and all of this can be controlled by an administrator via group policy, so I can lock that down as needed. Along with the new client options, because we have new technologies like instant clones that I mentioned, the Horizon agent, which for those of you who aren't terribly familiar with this, the agent is what I put inside the VMs that I build for my users. Well, depending upon what I am going to be doing and what features I'm going to be giving my user when I build their VMs and I install the agent, I'm going to go through here and pick the features that I want in the agent. And so the one that's highlighted here, notice there's a new agent for instant clones. It's like, oh, so I'm going to use one of those new instant clone things that I talked about earlier and build a pool of instant clones. When I'm building that master machine or that parent machine, when I set up that agent, I got to make sure that I put that instant clone agent in there. That's a new agent. It's a new feature. Okay? Client drive redirection, virtual printing, things like that. So there's new components in there in the agent to be aware of. All right, probably the second most popular or most mentioned thing about Horizon 7. Instant clones is first. I mean, if you just go out and do a search engine and search for Horizon 7, the first links you're probably going to find are on instant clones, and the next links you're going to find is on this, Blast Extreme Display Protocol. So as a little review, if you're a previous Horizon customer, version 5, version 6, we had two display protocols previously, PC over IP and good old RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol from Microsoft. And traditionally, in fact, I'm teaching a Horizon View 6.2 class this week, okay, when I talk about display protocols, we really push people towards using PC over IP because it's one that's designed for a virtual desktop environment, it's very tweakable and tunable as an administrator, etc. It's great. RDP works, but it's not very feature-rich, it's not designed for virtual desktops, etc. Well, there's a problem with PC over IP. The only time I can use PC over IP is if my user's device, the physical device they're sitting at, supports PC over IP. Now, if your users are sitting at Windows machines and opening up the Horizon client again, no problem, because Windows supports that. But it's the proliferation of those non-traditional clients that's become an issue. All of the different mobile phone platforms out there, whether you're an Android or iOS, etc., we've got this huge proliferation of devices. We got to face the fact that we don't live in a PC-oriented world anymore. Okay? Things are morphing, things are changing. Okay? These non-traditional devices, whether it's a tablet, a phone, or a thin client terminal type device, or the Chrome OS, Chromebooks. Okay? It's not just a PC world anymore. So what VMware did, and I really think they're getting ahead of the curve now with this. They're not chasing the curve, they're ahead of the curve on this one. They've created a new display protocol called the Blast Extreme protocol. And the key to this protocol is that VMware did not go out and reinvent the wheel. Because we are concerned about this mobile environment and keeping up or keeping ahead of the development of the mobile environment, rather than go out and creating another proprietary protocol, building it from the ground up, etc., what VMware did, and again, incredibly intelligent that they did this, is they said, you know what? Pretty much every mobile device on the planet supports this protocol called H.264. That's the display standard or display protocol that's being used across the industry. Billions of devices support H.264, including Windows machines, Linux machines, mobile machines, etc. So VMware said, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to create a protocol that is going to work in conjunction with and is built on the existing standard protocol for all these devices. And that's what they did. Okay? So now in Horizon 7, when I'm creating my desktop pools and things like that, I have the ability to define, do I want to let the users use PC over IP? Do I want to let them use RDP? Or do I want to let them use Blast Extreme? And we can have all three of these running at the same time. We can let users choose, or I can lock them down, etc. Now, from a configuration standpoint, as the administrator, there's not a whole heck of a lot I need to do other than to realize I have this new protocol available out here. And I took a couple screenshots on the right. This is the screenshot of the settings of a pool. And we can see here, hey, Blast Extreme is one of the options. And over here, this is a screenshot from the Horizon client on Windows and saying, hey, Blast Extreme is one of the options. There's not really a whole lot I have to do to make this work. I can set it as the default protocol. I can allow users to choose, potentially, etc. But we just have another protocol. The fact that it's based upon the standard that all of the mobile devices out there are already using, that's the ahead of the curve part that VMware is doing. Question that I get all the time, and I'm sure somebody's thinking it, so I'll just answer it before you actually ask it. Does that mean PC over IP is going away? Because we've used PC over IP for years. We kind of like PC over IP. We've got some tweaks set up with it, things like that. And VMware's answer is nope, PC over IP is not going away. It's embedded. It's used by a lot of customers. VMware's not going to pull that rug out from under your feet. Okay, they have no intentions of discontinuing that. Again, it was co-developed by Teradici along with VMware, and it's going to be around. Okay, we're just giving you another option. Now, in my opinion, and this is just Shawn's opinion, you can repeat it if you want to. Okay, Blast Extreme is going to very quickly become the de facto. If you're running Horizon View, you're going to be using Blast Extreme. It's just that much of a game changer. All right, a few other things, kind of winding down towards the end here. If you got some questions, you can get those queued up. Instant clones, probably the thing that's getting the most press out there. Blast Extreme protocol, probably the second most. A few other things, and I think for some of you, these may be things that are even more impactful to your environment. VMware has a product, and they actually bought this product from a third-party company a couple of years ago. They have a product called User Environment Manager. Okay, they went out and sucked up a product from a company called Amidio a few years ago. They were a Dutch company. This is a profile management tool, giving me the ability to manage user profiles. Now, we talked licensing in the beginning. Nobody likes to talk about licensing, but we did it anyway. User Environment Manager is an industrial-strength profile management tool. You get that product if you are an enterprise customer with Horizon. You own User Environment Manager. You can use it as a profile management tool. Now, UEM itself is a fabulous product. It can manage a Windows profile. It can take settings and roam them between different versions of applications like Office 2007 to 2010. It can manage application settings when a user goes from a PC to a tablet, etc. I mean, it's an unbelievable profile management tool. Okay? So all by itself, it's awesome. UEM, in conjunction with Horizon 7, we get an additional set of capabilities that VMware is calling smart policies. Let me give you a screenshot. So we've got some things that we can do with our user in our environment. Like, do I want to let the user be able to plug in a USB drive and have that appear inside their VM? Is that something I want to do? Well, if you're a current Horizon administrator, you can say, well, I could control that. I could control it at the pool level or maybe with a global policy. You can also do it inside of Horizon 7. And we can do it with this thing called a smart policy. Now, you see a list of things here. USB, local printing, access to clipboard, client drive redirection, use of PC over IP, etc. Not only can I configure all of these things, but I can do these things via policy. Oops, sorry about that, didn't mean to click that. And I can apply conditions to those. So I could come up with a set of conditions that says, okay, you know what? I am going to let you have USB access. However, I'm going to put some conditions with that. You have to be a member of Group A, and you have to be coming from a Windows machine, and you have to be inside my environment. If you're outside my environment, coming from the outside, not going to let you do it. With these things we call smart policies, it's not just, am I going to let you print to a local printer? It's, am I going to let you print to a local printer based upon conditions, type of device, user, group, location of device, etc. I can build all of these rich set of conditions. Previously, I could limit whether somebody gets USB access, but it was kind of a on or off kind of a thing. I couldn't say, yep, you get USB access when you're accessing from your Windows machine, but if you're on a thin client, you don't. I couldn't do that. Or if you're on a Linux client, I couldn't do that. Okay? Smart policies give me the ability to provide these options to my users, but layer in all of these options. And those options for me as an administrator, they give me control. I mean, that's what I want. I want control of my environment. And control of the environment is not just an on-off switch. It's the ability to adapt to all of these different conditions of my users. Again, we're not in a PC-based environment always anymore. It's not that I have Bob the user sitting at the same desk in front of the same machine every day. Now Bob accesses from 10 different devices across, 6 different locations in a given week. How do I adapt to do that? And it's through technologies like this. Okay. Now, this is one of the technologies, as I mentioned earlier, that falls under the licensing categories. UEM is included if you have the enterprise license, which is the one that's at the top of the food chain. Okay. Because you're an enterprise customer using UEM, that then gives me the ability to do these things called smart policies, which is just refining how I use that UEM technology. So again, it's licensed. If you're a standard customer or an advanced customer, you don't get this. You don't get this technology. All right, I want to talk about one more quick advancement in Horizon 7, then we'll open it up for some questions. I know you'll want to get back to work or to lunch or wherever you're headed to. In Horizon 6, VMware came out with a technology called Cloud Pod architecture. And to briefly explain this, what Cloud Pod architecture is essentially the ability to take multiple Horizon View environments and link them together. In Horizon View, we have something called a pod. And what a pod is the collection of servers that are going to be utilized to provide my users virtual desktops. It's my connection server, it's my vCenter server, it's my ESXi servers, etc. That's one pod. And one single Horizon pod can handle up to about 10,000 users. Okay, well that's great. That satisfies most of my needs, but what if I'm a larger environment? What if I got 15,000 users? What if I have 25,000 users? Well, historically, before Horizon 6, I had to build multiple Horizon View environments to be able to accommodate more than those 10,000 desktops. But the problem was, before Horizon 6, those were standalone environments. They didn't talk to each other. I had 3 completely separate Horizon View installations that I had to administer separately. Users could not go from one to the other. They couldn't roam back and forth. Just wasn't possible. So in Horizon 6, VMware came out with this thing called Cloud Pod architecture, which is where you could build multiple Horizon pods or build multiple Horizon View installations and then get them to talk to each other. Link them together so that not only can I manage them as one entity, it makes my life easier as an administrator, but my users can also Move around. I've got a user who works in Europe, and today they're in New York. Can they still get their desktop? Well, Cloud Pod Architecture, they can. Now, Cloud Pod Architecture in Horizon 7 has not fundamentally changed, with the exception of bigger, faster, stronger. With Horizon 6, I could do Cloud Pod Architecture and scale to 20,000 desktops across 4 pods at a couple of sites. Well, notice now in Horizon 7, the Cloud Pod Architecture has scaled. With Horizon 7, I can build multiple pods or Horizon View installations, link them together. I can have up to 4 pods that are spread across up to 5 different geographic locations, managing a total of 50,000 desktops with 50 connection servers sprinkled around. So Cloud Pod Architecture fundamentally is the same as it was in 6, but bigger expandability. What VMware is doing is they're addressing those large enterprise customers that say, hey, Cloud Pod Architecture is great, 20,000 desktops is great, but how about us? We're bigger. Or we've got multiple different geographic locations around the world. How do you address our needs? And VMware is scaling Cloud Pod Architecture with this. And again, I expect this to continue to scale. Now, that's a number of technologies in a very short period of time. We'll open it up for questions in a few moments, but let's kind of talk about what you can do. Where do you go next? If Horizon 7 is on your landscape, if that's what you're going to, what is VMware? And of course, New Horizons, we're a training provider. What do we have for you? Horizon View, Install, Configure, Manage. That's a 5-day class. It is the fundamental class, fundamental meaning everyone's got to take that. That is the class you want to take if you want to learn how to install Horizon View 7, how to implement all these components, all the regular kinds of pools, instant clone pools, user environment manager, app volumes. That's the class that's going to teach you that. It's 5 days, very hands-on oriented. Okay, fabulous class. I literally just taught it last week. Okay, awesome class. If you're going to Horizon 7, that's where you want to go through. Okay. Now, VMware has another Horizon 7 class that was literally just launched. It was announced last week. You'll start to see this showing up on the schedules out there. It's Horizon 7 Troubleshooting and Performance Optimization. You really can't go to that class unless you've gone to the first class first as far as practical experience, because we're going to hit the ground running in that second class, assuming, okay, you've already built this, you know how to build it, you know how to set it all up, great. Now let's figure out what to do when it breaks, and let's figure out how to diagnose performance tools and how do I squeeze the most performance. It's a very advanced class. Okay, you can't walk into that one as a rookie. You want to go through the first class, have some experience in an environment, but we do have an advanced class out there that you can go to. I did also include one other class at the bottom of the list here that you might consider, and you may notice on this that this is a version 6 class. You might think, oh, what's up with that, version 6? VMware just has not announced a version 7 version of this class, Design and Deploy. Design and Deploy is a class that basically says, okay, before you install this, here's what you should consider as far as designing and architecting your environment. If you're a small environment, you're going to have like 1 or 2 servers and a dozen virtual machines. Your architecture is pretty simple. But what if I'm a large enterprise? What am I looking at with number of servers, geographical spacing, things like that? Design and Deploy is a great class for looking at things from an architectural standpoint. I fully expect that VMware will come out with a version 7 of that class. They just haven't announced it yet. Horizon 7 is brand new. Okay, so we're cutting edge here. Even the version 6 class is going to give you probably 85 to 90%. Obviously, it won't talk about things like instant clones and stuff like that, but it would cover all the major components. So just know that that one's out there and that we will probably have a version 7 coming of that. Can't emphasize enough, if you're going to look to go to Horizon 7, that Horizon 7 Install, Configure, Manage class, that's the bread and butter. That's where you got to go. Again, I taught it last week. Awesome class. Everybody had a great time. And again, it's on the New Horizons schedule, VMware schedule all the time. Okay, we'll definitely get you into that. All right. Questions, comments, anything you got, you can toss them into the chat window out there. Toss them into the questions window. If you've got questions, glad to take them. I see one question coming in here. Does View 7 policies work with domain policies? Yeah, great question. So with Horizon, since all of the desktops are in an Active Directory environment, we use group policies a lot. And we use it to control the behavior of the Horizon agent, of the Horizon client, controlling the user environment with group policies. The answer to that question is an unqualified absolute yes. All of the Horizon-oriented policies that you had in 6 have been updated for 7, and you can continue to use Active Directory's group policy. If you've got group policy set up to manage your user's desktop and stuff, and you want to continue to do that, not a problem. 100% compatible, extremely common to do that. So yes, yes, yes to that question. Okay, cool. All right, another question coming in here. And does virtual SAN give better performance with clients compared to a standard SAN? Great question. I'm going to give you my standard off-the-cuff answer of it depends. Now, let me just address this for those of you who don't know what virtual SAN is. Virtual SAN is a storage virtualization technology. It's been around for a year and a half, 2 years from VMware. If you were a Horizon Advanced customer or Enterprise customer, you get a license for virtual SAN. Okay, so that's a good reason why it's coming up now. Now, with virtual SAN, instead of buying a traditional SAN storage enclosure, which is filled up with hard drives, iSCSI, Fiber Channel, NFS, etc., what virtual SAN allows us to do is take disks that are directly attached or local to the ESXi servers and use software. Virtual SAN is software to create shared data stores out of those. I mean, that's a very brief definition of what it does. Now, does virtual SAN give better performance than a traditional SAN? The it depends answer is based on 2 things. One, when you build virtual SAN, you have to populate those local hosts with drives. A huge factor of the performance of virtual SAN is based upon the quality of those drives. To put it bluntly, if I put slow, crappy drives in my host, I'm going to have slow, crappy storage. If I put faster storage, either faster mechanical drives, magnetic drives, SSD, or even flash, we can do all flash, then my performance is going to be absolutely killer in that. Now, that obviously is going to affect your cost. If I try to outfit an all flash-based virtual SAN, okay, obviously that's going to have a very different cost factor than using traditional magnetic disks. So virtual SAN can perform as good or better than traditional SANs, but it is based upon how are we building it. And then, of course, it's based upon what am I comparing it against. If I'm comparing it against a cheap $1,500 iSCSI SAN, well, heck, I can outperform that with anything. So, again, you really kind of have to look at it with an apples by apples. So it's more of how you build it. Can it give as good or better? Absolutely. Okay? So kind of a fairly vague answer to that, but as we wait for more questions to come in, if they're coming in, let me just throw a couple of things out there. Of course, New Horizons is a training provider. We'd love to see you guys all in our classes out there. If you happen to be going to VMworld next week, okay, there's going to be tons of sessions on Horizon 7 out there. Look at the content catalog. Tons of session on Virtual SAN as well. Get into those sessions. There's great information. New Horizons will have a booth at VMworld. Please stop by and see us. I will be at VMworld. Mark down my name. I won't be working in the booth too often, but if you stroll by there, they can direct you towards me. I'd be happy to talk with you guys if you're out there at VMworld. Be glad to meet with you. I'll be out there all week, so if you happen to be around, ask for me at the New Horizons booth. They'll track me down for you. So, cool. Question coming in here. Is 627 a free upgrade? No, 7 is a completely different licensed product. So you'd be looking at licensing 7, okay, from VMware. I can't give you any pricing factor because I literally don't sell the technology. I build it and I teach it. So you got to check with your VMware rep or your reseller on that. Okay, but it is a licensed product, so it's not just a simple free upgrade. You got to license 7. So.
Okay. I don't see any other questions coming in, Shawn, so that was great. Thank you so much for presenting for us, and thank you everyone that attended today. Hope you came away with something. I know that Shawn, as always, just gave an excellent presentation. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shawn. And if anybody does have any additional questions, please feel free to reply back to the invite email for this event. I will get those, and I can get you in contact with Shawn to answer any additional questions you might have. So with that being said, thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.